What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Shot of Sports. Grab a drink, a snack. This is your weekly dose of sports where we'll break down and do a deep dive on the world of sports. Whether you're a casual fan or a diehard, we're here to bring you the latest, the best analysis, and the hottest takes. I'm your host, Jalen Nicholson Bourne. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and even comment for us. Smash the like button for us, and then tap the bell icon on the side so you can be notified whenever we drop so you won't miss one. Today we got on the show our boy Sam Strass, he's back. We got Drew Best, and then we have Nazir Spencer, who will be on in about a few seconds or a few minutes from now. So, fellas, how was your day yesterday?
Well, just trying to get to work on some of my own real life job stuff, but too bad my apartment complex, the internet decided to cut for the last, if my math is correct, the last 18 hours and counting now. So I had to switch up the scene a little bit. I'm at my girlfriend's house in her little brother's bedroom, kind of just using a new setup today. I think this is my third setup so far in the few short weeks that we've been doing this. So the
Awesome.
internet's been down, but I've been up, so we're all right.
We continue to roll, I guess. My day was fine. It was a little bit of running around. It's general news stuff, and obviously with the draft coming up, we already talked about that a bunch yesterday. But that's really consumed a lot of the work that we do up here in Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some Sam thoughts on the draft today as well because I know he missed the last show. We're gonna have to have him talk about a little bit of it before we go into our full stream shows. Was that next week and toward the end of next week, and then starting in the week after that. So we're gonna jump first into the NBA playoff field. The NBA playoff field is set. We just wait for seeding now after the first few games are done. As we get a little closer matchups, what are the storylines and predictions you have for before we start play?
Sam, after you.
I was gonna say the same thing for you too, Drew. But this is the first time hearing that the playoff bracket is set. And I think what's impressive to me, and maybe not impressive in a good way, is that this is going to be the first year in a while where we don't have the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs. And they've been pretty good the last 5 seasons. They were in the bubble. I don't know if they ended up making the playoff bracket out of the bubble, but they were for sure invited to the NBA bubble in Disney
Don't want
World.
to cut you off. Don't want to cut you off real quick, but we do have Nazir.
Yo,
How's the?
yo, can you hear me?
Oh boy.
Here we
Can you hear
can.
me? Can you boys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How was your day
you should
yesterday?
ask that a couple more times. Ask that a couple more times. I don't know if I can hear
couple,
you
10
guys.
more
Can
times.
you hear me? Can you hear me? Yo, what we
How you
talking
feeling?
about?
How's
I'm
work?
feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Just got off of work and stuff. I had to come in and chime in on the conversation. I don't know what the topic is, but guarantee I'm gonna argue about it.
First, we talk about the NBA playoff. The field is set. We're looking for the storylines, predictions of the matchups of play. We're just waiting on the seeding to fill out the playoff bracket. So let me throw that graphic back on up for us.
And it's like I said, it's impressive in a way almost that the Phoenix Suns are not in the playoffs this year with a roster that on paper is that talented with just full of legitimate all-time talents. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, just to name a few. Bradley Beal, when he was at the top of his game, was an amazing basketball player. Yes, he's not at the top of his game anymore, but that's besides the point. On paper, this Suns team is arguably one of the best in the NBA, and they are not even in the top 10 seeds in the Western Conference. That just blows my mind that this year we're not going to see a Kevin Durant or Devin Booker in the playoffs.
1 second. You said it's surprising. I'm not surprised at all, personally, because the
Really?
roster. I don't think the roster is that great at all, personally. Like you get obviously, like you said, KD and Booker, great. But then it just drops. Obviously, Bradley Beal is not who he was, or doesn't want to be who he was because he's getting paid $150 million. Doesn't really matter. And then you got Grayson Allen, he's a good role player. But then you got Bol, who doesn't try. He up to his potential, I should say. Tyus Jones is okay. Cody Martin, Damian Lee, these guys aren't really meant for a winning roster. Nick Richards they got in that trade with Charlotte, which I don't think has done anything for them in the paint. And Mason Plumlee, who hasn't played much, and Royce O'Neal's pretty good. But the team overall, to me, is just not where it should be. And, a lot of that has to do with Kevin Durant and going from the Nets to the Suns and them giving up their entire roster who was in that finals run against the Bucks that year. But I'm not really surprised. I thought this was going to be the result the whole time because they don't play defense. So
I'm
They're
not
just
gonna.
not deep. They're just not deep, and they
not deep at all.
don't get coached well. And
Yeah.
like you said, it feels like it's sort of a loser culture where not everybody's giving their effort, and that's really in a Western Conference like this, where there's a few, like 2 or 3 teams at the top, and everybody else is in that same bubble. You're going to end up at the bottom of that chain if you're not putting in the effort. And it seems like
Exactly.
the attitude around this team, especially in the second half of the season, was just abysmal.
Right. And
That is true.
that's off. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I was looking like why I don't even know why they needed to get Bradley Beal in the first place. I never understood that move to begin with. I mean,
Another scoring option to replace Bridges and whoever else, Chris Paul, and they had another Payne. They
Cam
had
Johnson, I
Cam
think.
Johnson on the team. Yeah, that I'll never understand. They had a great young core surrounding Devin Booker, their best player. Their
they got to
franchise
the
player.
finals with Mikal Bridges and
Yeah, that's what I
Aiton
mean.
in them.
They
So
were great.
Jay Crowder, DeAndre
Crowder,
Ayton,
yeah.
Chris Paul, and that team. I mean, realistically speaking, they. I mean, you just got to think about it this way: they were up 2-0 on the champions that year. They were up 2-0 and played 4 extremely close games at one point or another. All 4 of those games were really close with the Bucks in the
Mhm.
2021 NBA Finals, and then you go blow up the team. Now, when you have a chance to bring in Kevin Durant, who's arguably a top 10 player of all time, you make that happen. You just make that happen, regardless of who you have to give up.
But history
You're going to
shows
have
you
to give some to get some. And even at his age, he's still doing it at the highest level, right? Bradley Beal, yes, that's another question mark. And that I was very, very glad that when he was in trade talks again at the deadline this year, that the Bucks decided to take their name out of that ring. Yes, would having the name value of Bradley Beal make the team look a little scarier? Sure, but he's just not the same player anymore as he was on the Wizards. They blew up the team a little bit, but they still have 5 guys in double digit scoring every night. Nick Richards and Royce O'Neal are nice 4th, 5th options, especially Royce O'Neal coming off the bench. Nurkic, he's been hurt most of the season. He hasn't been very productive at all.
He's
If
out of
I'm
there.
not
He's in
mistaken,
Charlotte.
I'm pretty sure is
Yeah,
he out the rest of the season? If I'm not mistaken, or
He's in Charlotte. Nurkic.
he's in Charlotte now?
Yeah, they traded him for.
I must
Nurkic.
be tripping.
yeah,
I must be tripping then.
but that
But
was a deadline move, wasn't it?
Him and Bud didn't get along, so they
I don't know
You are tripping
how.
if you think that Royce O'Neal is a 4th option on a winning.
I
That's
don't
what I
know
mean.
how I let that Nurkic trade slide through the cracks in the floor, but
wasn't great.
that's besides the point. They still have decent guys on the team. It's not like it's not that drastic of a fall off is the point I'm trying to make here, which is why it's impressive in a bad way to me that this team is not in the playoffs. I mean, they expanded to 10 teams per conference. Throw that graphic back up there. They expanded to 10 teams per conference, and the Phoenix Suns, with 2 of the 75 best players of all time on the same team, with a solid 3rd option and Bradley Beal, say what you want about Bradley Beal, still solid as a 3rd option, did not make the playoffs as one of the top 10 out of 15 teams in that conference.
Well, you need depth in the West.
Well, I mean, look at those 10.
Even the
seeds,
Kings have
though.
it.
Look at those 10 teams, though. Those 10 teams aren't like no slouches. I mean, when you got a guy like when you trade away De'Aaron Fox from like the Kings did, you get back a Zach LaVine, who's another purified scorer. Yes, they are not going to have like a floor general like Chris Paul or anything like that, but they're still a dangerous team when you think about it. Then you got the Mavericks. Yes, they didn't have Kyrie, but before then they had so many wins before he got hurt that it was ultimately too much for the Suns to come back up to. And then you got the Grizzlies, who have Ja Morant and a big 3 down there, and then you also have a Anthony Edwards, who was literally in the Western Conference Finals last year. So it's like those 10 teams is a hard. I mean,
Who
you could
swept the
ultimately
Suns,
make a
by the way.
case for like 12 teams that could potentially make the playoffs out of that seat or out of the West.
And now, if everything goes chalk, the T-Wolves get OKC in the first round.
Oh man, what a
How
series!
about that for a first round matchup?
That's the
Shea
West,
and
baby.
AAE.
That's going to 7, man. The Thunder's fans should be very nervous about that if they get either the Grizzlies or the Timberwolves. It's not going to be fun for them at all. And I stand by that. I mean, they'd probably be better off playing the Grizzlies
Yes,
because
that's exactly what I was about to say.
the
Yeah,
Grizzlies don't match up very well with them. But the Timberwolves match up very, very well with them.
Timberwolves, they
Just
got
keep
depth,
it
they
from the
got
lady.
defense, they got AE, who's literally a bona fide to put a 40, average of 30 in a series.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. They got swept last year, the Suns, and after that, I was just not convinced because that's the second time we've seen Kevin Durant get swept in the past like 5 years, and it's just I don't know, man. And in the first round as well, and that team is just not built for a run. And me being kind of a Phoenix lover, when my family lives down there, I've been always looked into them a little bit, and it's just they just never been great and since the finals, I guess. And they teams just got to learn not to ruin a young core, especially for a superstar. I think when you trade for Kevin Durant, people know that you're going to have to give up so much stuff because he's still averaging 28 points per game. So like he's 7 foot, can do anything on offense, can play relatively great defense sometimes. Not a great rebounder, but doesn't matter because the scoring makes up for it. So you're going to have to give up pieces and draft picks for that. And it just ruined the Suns. And I think that's a perfect example on why you shouldn't do something like that. And I mean, the Mavericks kind of did the exact opposite and gave up little or got little back, I should say.
Well, how about look at the Nuggets? Where they at? They're at the 4th spot.
That's a horrible matchup for them. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
know the Clippers, I think, can win that.
Yeah,
I completely agree. That's
Healthy
a horrible.
Especially now that Malone is out and there's no consistency in the coaching staff. It's
Hey.
time to just saddle up and get ready to head home for the offseason.
Hey.
for
that's
Denver.
exactly what I was about to bring up
Is
about the
having a
Nuggets.
career year.
It came out that Malone was asked how the team took his message after a bad game against the Blazers, and this was like I think a game or two right before he was fired. His response was, "I didn't really care. My job is to be honest, sometimes brutally honest." And the guys that are full of S won't hear it. They'll say coach is tripping, and the guys who maybe do really care they're not going to go back and watch their minutes. Nobody watches their minutes. Nobody watches film, so we'll have to show them the film. And I said, if somebody disagrees with me, please speak up. So
He's being a
really,
coach.
he
He's
got
being a coach.
fired for being a coach.
Yeah, he's being a coach. I don't get it. Businesses don't like that, bro. They don't like when the coaches is in full control.
See,
They want
in the league now, they pander to young talent. They baby. You don't want the hard nosed coaching. You don't want people to play heavy minutes. You don't want to go out there and play back to backs. The league is starting to become really soft, and it's like really starting to irritate me.
You know what happened? I'm not sure if I said it on here or where I said it really, but this is the risk that the league decided to take when they decided to empower the players more. Now, am I all for the players getting their bag? Yes, of course.
and the commissioner.
Get your money. However, letting the players take over as basically their own GMs at this point has ruined the NBA. And pretty soon, we are going to see a form of a coach's strike because if the expectation from your players is you have to win the finals in year one or you're not our guy, nobody's going to want to coach in the NBA anymore. Not a single soul will want to be a coach for a team that has zero faith in you unless you go 82-0 and then sweep in the playoffs.
I think you got to move that back to 3-point line. I think that's the thing that's ruined the NBA is teams taking 45 3-point shots a game.
No,
that's
Drew.
up there too, and that becomes another question. Look, 15 years ago, Stephen Curry, obviously one of, if not, depending on how you look at basketball, the greatest basketball player ever, right? He's up there. He's for sure up there. But did he do more harm to the sport itself?
Oh, my goodness.
The sport itself. No, not the NBA, but the sport itself. We're talking about we had to move the 3-point line back and try and introduce more twos, more small ball, more getting down low in the paint to score.
That's a coaching issue.
Blame?
That is a coaching issue.
Yeah, that's a coaching issue. I wouldn't say that's a player.
No, look, listen.
I'm not saying it is, but that's a conversation that A, should be had, and B, is going to be had as more collective bargaining agreements start to come and go through the NBA. Because another CBA is coming up soon. I'm pretty sure.
That's a coaching issue, though. That's
not
a Steph Curry issue.
Okay, yeah, I'm not saying that is a Steph Curry. I'm just saying that conversation should be had and is going to be had as we keep going over the next couple seasons until this current CBA runs out.
Right, but that would take the whole purpose away of the game. Like if you're moving the 3-point line back, I mean that's legitimately a coaching issue. Everyone wants to play like Steph, and no one wants to play like Kobe did, or Mike did, or Penny Hardaway. No one wants to play like that. Harden
Because threes get you the most amount of points, and most amount of points win you games.
And the most amount of points can lead to awards and higher seeds and all and such and such. Yes, we understand that, but Steph did probably the best thing they could for the game because it improved everyone's talent, in my opinion. I think everyone can say that the NBA is at its peak talent right now. Even the worst teams have these amazing players that the normal person could not guard or could not defend. So I think that moving the 3-point line would just ruin the whole purpose of the game and ruin coaching in general, because then you have to just come up with this new game plan that we've never seen. And we just don't want to see that. We don't want to redo. We don't want to redo the game. We want to just continuate the game and make sure that, we're not taking as many threes because it's a liability sometimes. And
All right. So for you then, why is viewership going down for the NBA?
Why is viewership going down?
What do you see as the issue?
Well, I think that there's a lot of games and there's the streaming aspect of it. No one really knows what to use anymore when it comes to finding the games, and the refereeing is a little bit tedious. I will say the 3-point margin is a lot, but I mean the Celtics just passed the Warriors, 2016 Warriors, in 3-point makes of the year or something like that. So I wouldn't say that's the issue. I would say there's a whole multitude of issues that kind of come up with the views being so low.
All right, I'll take my 3-point line back. We don't need to do that as much as we need to get rid of the local TV blackout. So that's the biggest thing.
Issue. I think that's the biggest issue personally, because what are you gonna do? You're gonna pay for 4 outlets? No.
Across all sports too. I mean, the NFL is one thing. You get at least 4 games a week, right? You get Thursday night if you decide, even if you don't pay for Amazon Prime. Let's say you don't. You get 1 game at noon, and 2 games really at noon, depending on if you want to watch Fox or CBS. You get 2 games at 3. You get Sunday Night Football, and you get Monday Night Football on ESPN. So you're getting 6 games a week guaranteed on national television. And one of those games is going to be your team unless they're on Thursday Night Football. MLB, if you live in Iowa, you cannot watch the Royals, Cubs, White Sox, Twins, or the Cardinals. You can't watch any of those 5 teams if you just live in Iowa. All sports need to get rid of blackouts.
That's a problem. So,
and Sunday Night Baseball is done too. The ESPN didn't renew the partnership.
Yep. After 2025, it's done.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, as we look at that, we can show you the graphic real quick of all the coaches that's been fired. They've been fired within 2 or 3 years after winning a championship, and it's only getting worse and worse for coaching in the NBA or NFL. The NFL is doing the same thing. But we're going to jump now into the NFL draft. We're going to talk a little bit, get Sam's thoughts on some of the things that we covered yesterday. The draft does take place in Green Bay on April 24th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's less than 2 weeks away now, 2 weeks from yesterday. So, Sam, who do you think your number 1 is?
And I will be in attendance all day Thursday for the entire festivities. Same with Friday. I'll be there for the first 2 days.
Get some
from
pictures.
Noon till close. We are
get
there.
Interviews, get flicks.
Get some content.
I'll try and do my best. But I think the number 1 pick, it's probably going to be Abdul Carter. I mean, it's just when you come into a draft like that, especially being the Titans with the number 1 overall pick, you just take the best player. You take the best player that's available, and Abdul Carter, regardless of the injuries, is 100% the best player. 24 tackles for loss last year for Abdul Carter. On a Penn State team that wasn't great, he was arguably the lone bright spot outside of Tyler Warren.
Got rocked in the playoffs.
68 combined tackles. They were in the playoff, weren't they?
Yeah, they got rocked.
I don't know what's going wrong with me. They got rocked in the playoff, but Abdul Carter, the main bright spot on that team, right? 12 sacks last year. If I'm Tennessee, I'm taking Abdul Carter number 1 overall.
They have a nice tight end too, don't they?
They get injured? Am I tripping?
Abdul Carter was injured, yes.
Yeah.
He had a surgery,
He's dealt with some injuries in his past. He played 16 games last year.
No. I mean, after the season, he had a surgery, didn't he? He had like a foot surgery or something like that.
Yes. He was playing injured for much of the season.
That might
but
push him back a little bit.
I'm taking him first overall because there's no real merit to saying he's going to be missing the first 4 weeks as of right now. Like there's no one out there suggesting that he's missing the first 4 weeks or he's going to miss the preseason or he's going to miss OTAs or anything like that. Rookie camp even. There's no indication that he's going to be missing that time.
So do you think it's going to be a miss if they don't take him?
I think it's going to be a huge miss if they don't take him.
Really?
I think he goes next pick. And you can't really go wrong with taking Travis Hunter either.
That's what I mean.
I think
that's what they might do, in my opinion.
I think Travis should be a Titan because their defense is already on the rise. And adding Travis, I mean, adding Abdul Carter would as well, but Travis can play both ways, and you already have a bridge quarterback, in my opinion. I don't think he's that bad, Mr. Mayo. But I think they could develop him a little bit. And the defense is already pretty good. Weren't they ranked like in the middle of the pack last year? Like even as a bottom tier team, like I think their team is like pretty set defensively if they get Travis Hunter, and then all they got to do is build in their offense, which you get in Travis Hunter as well. But if you let Travis Hunter get to the Browns, that's a big mistake in my opinion. As we were talking about that yesterday, Jalen.
They already got a decent defense too. The Browns do.
The year before last,
they were number one
playoffs. They were number one defense in the league.
And then CJ Stroud took
Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
they just brought back Joe Flacco to try and run that back.
I'm trying to tell you, man, it's different, man. I don't know. I think Travis Hunter should be one, but I don't disagree with you on that.
Travis Hunter is outright the player with the highest ceiling. He's the best athletic option. When you have a chance to pick up a game changer like that, that's not a quarterback, you do it. Because I mean, and I've already said this yesterday. I think this is a weak quarterback class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
I would agree.
What we were talking about yesterday. We were saying that Shador slides to 9. Wow,
he's on a lot of 20s.
Mel Kiper had him at 9.
20
it kind of makes sense. It makes a little bit of sense for him to fall that far down. Just think about it this way: the Titans, they were roughly middle of the pack. They're in terms of defense. Their highlight was run defense. They need better pass rushing and better secondary. You have two great options to choose from right then and there, and they're arguably the two best players in this draft in Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. I just think Abdul Carter is the right way to go. At pick 2, the Browns, they can't move on from Deshaun Watson quite yet. They just can't. As much as they may want to, they just can't. So whoever doesn't get taken between those two is going at 2. Giants are going quarterback in my eyes. I think it's Cam Ward. The Patriots don't need quarterback. The Jags don't need quarterback. The Raiders don't need quarterback. At the moment, they don't need quarterback. They just extended Geno Smith. The Jets do they really need a quarterback? They brought in Justin Fields. Do they need competition with Justin Fields? That's their question they got to ask themselves. That right now, I think they're going to go offensive line just to bolster the front that's in front of Justin Fields. Cowboys don't need quarterback. The Saints do. So there's 8 teams in front of the Saints, and only one of them truly, truly needs a quarterback. You can make the case for Tennessee, but only one of those teams truly needs a quarterback, and it's the Giants. Give me the Saints with Shadur Sanders, or the Saints, honestly, if they don't have faith in Shadur Sanders that early, which I've started to see the light when it comes to Shadur Sanders. I think he's going to be a talented quarterback in the NFL. If they don't see the light with him, trade back. Jackson Dart is this year's Bo Nix.
Dude, he's so good.
He's this year's Bo Nix.
He is good.
He is. I saw games of him from Ole Miss the past couple of years, and I had my thoughts. I had my thoughts about Jackson Dart, especially in the college circuit. But after his pro day, after his combine, he might be the real deal.
I don't know if
they're very similar play styles.
I don't know if you trade back for him though. That would be a reach.
It depends on how far you want to trade back to get him. Because like we said, this isn't a very quarterback heavy class. The only other team that I could see going quarterback first round is Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I could see Pittsburgh doing it. Seattle could as well. Seattle could, even though they have Sam Darnold. How much faith do they really have in Sam Darnold? But Pittsburgh is the next team that needs quarterback.
What if Pittsburgh trades up to get Shador?
Then, if they are they trading up with the Saints, or are they trading up?
Not with the Saints. They would have to pick up a one of those teams beforehand who may not see like what they have available.
One of the 8. If they trade up to do that, I mean, you still really don't have any teams that want to take quarterback in the first round. Though, I mean,
Cardinals might.
They might, but I mean, Kyler Murray's still kind of young.
not
He's
good,
still
though.
nimble. He just gets hurt a
Dude,
lot.
okay,
That's the only
enough of
thing.
that. Kyler Murray's still good.
I
He
He
can
love
is
still
still
handle it.
good.
Don't get it twisted. I love Kyler Murray. I love the Cardinals in general, but Kyler Murray has not proven anything, and I've tried to back him up, but them taking a quarterback would not be crazy. I would not.
How many seasons has he had where he's been fully healthy though?
Exactly, and when he's healthy, I mean, he made it
He's
to
been
one
fine.
playoff.
He hasn't had a defense that could support him. He's starting to put together a young offense. I think that he's still
I
got time.
understand.
I'm not saying
And
that
he's
he's a
only
top 10 quarterback or anything, but
He
I
could
think that
be. He
he's
could be a top
still
5 in
27.
the North.
he could this year.
He's gonna
Let's see what he does with this offense.
he's gonna turn 28 just before the season starts. He is still young. The interception numbers have come down since the beginning of his career. The touchdown numbers have stagnated a little bit, especially through the air. And
Oh,
he
hold
only
on.
has
Wait. Hold on.
What?
South Carolina guard Malaysia Wiley intends to enter the transfer portal.
Ooh.
Wow.
What school is he?
She's a bucket, dude.
That's
She's one
South
of the most
Carolina's
athletic
guard.
players.
You remember
in
when
the
we was talking
NCAA.
about that one that looked
South
like
Carolina?
Kyrie?
Oh,
Wiley. Yep.
where's she
That's
going?
crazy.
It just dropped that she was just entering the transfer portal.
Why? She's a bucket.
I guess. Remember when I said in my final thoughts? I think it was that Tuesday that
Dude.
Don had got the D1 scoring leader to transfer in. The D1 scoring leader to transfer in.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's
she's
gonna
like
be very interesting.
she's actually like intimidating to play against. It looks like she's terrifying. Her handles are insane. She can score. I don't think she's a great floor general, but dude, scoring anywhere on the court,
She's like Kyrie.
she's literally like she plays exactly like Kyrie, like a woman Kyrie. It's kind of crazy, but congrats to her. Good for her.
Speaking of the transfer portal, too, Robert Wright transferring to BYU. BYU is going to be scary.
They're gonna
next year on
stack.
the men's
Oh
side.
man,
They're going to
it's
be
gonna
gross.
Yes.
Absolutely gross. Big 12, all Big 12 honorable mention this year. He was an all freshman in the Big 12, averaging like 12, 13 points a game, 41% shooting, 35 from three, double figures 22 times this year. He put 24 on Kansas when they were the number 11 team in the country at the time, and Baylor was unranked. He got them a tournament win this year. Obviously, they had a tough draw second round against Duke, but BYU is gonna be nasty. In the age of NIL, BYU, I mean, they've got donors, they've got money. Like it's not even fair what BYU's got out there in Provo. They're going to be nuts for the next like half decade with how much NIL they can afford to give out. And now AJ Debonsa coming in next year too, the number one recruit in the entire basketball class.
He is nasty.
You've got
BYU is going to be so gross.
to have players of this caliber of good entering the transfer portals.
And their coach is good too.
It's like, I think we're pretty much watching free agency in college.
I love it.
Because I don't like how they are able to enter the transfer portal the minute it opens and they could be in the tournament. Like, I hate that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Well,
hate that.
that's the
I
other
feel
thing.
like basketball should, if your team is in the tournament, you have to wait until you are done in order to enter.
That's wild.
These kids are going to get paid too. They're going to get a lot of money.
Hey Sam, who do you want the Packers to draft?
So I'm still leaning wide receiver. I have been leaning wide receiver for quite a while.
Drew made a face.
There's going to be guys that should be available down that low. The guy I'm primarily thinking about is Luther Burden. I think Luther Burden will fall because I think Ted McMillan is going to be the first wide receiver taken off the board. And there's not many spots that teams are looking for wide receiver. This is a fairly defense-heavy draft, and there's a pretty good offensive line draft. This is a pretty good offensive line draft class is what I was trying to say. But Ted McMillan and Matthew Golden are both going to be gone. So a guy like Luther Burden, might it be a stretch in the first round? You can make the case, but he's arguably one of the top three receivers in this draft. The Packers could still use wide receivers. I mean, I really don't think any of the guys in the current wide receiver room for the Packers are bona fide wide receiver ones just yet. You need another guy. Christian Watson, I've wanted him gone for a while now. Nothing against Christian Watson. He can't stay on the field. He just simply can't. You have to cut your losses somewhere. It's nothing against Watson. I think he's a very talented football player. It's just he cannot stay healthy, and that's a detriment to that wide receiver room. The wide receiver room has prided itself on depth over the last few seasons. Christian Watson was supposed to be originally the guy in the wide receiver room. It looked like it was going to be Jaden Reed earlier this year. Then Jaden Reed forgot how to catch the football for a little bit, and his production slowly but surely fell off throughout the season. You need a guy with size, and you need a guy with speed at that wide receiver position. That's what Christian Watson had. He keeps getting hurt. Now you need to find it again, and I think that's the route they're going to go in the first round. If they don't, they're finding the Jair replacement. It's one of those two routes. They're either getting their number one receiver or they're going to find the Jair replacement.
Sam, I think you just got to remember that this is the Packers, and neither of those things are going to happen.
They will end up drafting another quarterback this year. What's
going
to happen?
What? A quarterback?
Here's what we talked about. Here's what we talked about yesterday. So I think I had mentioned Ted McMillan as an option. If he's still there, go for it. I don't think that there's any other wide receivers that are worth taking at that pick. So I think the biggest thing for the Packers is to pick up. And they're not going to go offensive line. They've kind of shown through free agency that they've got what they need there. I think that they're going to go either pass rusher to try and help out with that pass rush, or like you said, find that Jair replacement. I don't think that I think it's going to be a pass rusher by the end of it.
Yeah, Kenneth Grant, there's a chance that Kenneth Grant is still hanging around down that low at 23. But outside of that, I mean, you'd have to try and maybe reach on Jahad Campbell from Alabama, Walter Nolan from Mississippi. I mean, there's a few guys down there, but are they truly first-round talents, or could you possibly trade out of the first and get back into the second? Now, they will not do that because it is in Green Bay this year. They will not be trading their first-round pick, especially on night one.
No chance. Mark Murphy needs to announce that pick.
Yeah, no
exactly.
way.
It's his last pick. Or his last first-rounder, really. But does it make logical sense for them to trade out of the first round?
Hey, speaking of Mark Murphy, he came on to one of our shows today at 620 WTMJ, and he was talking about how, as his last season, it's going to be like bittersweet to, finally get a draft in Green Bay, and that just kind of proves that you're not trading your first round pick.
No, you might not trade any picks. You might trade up if anything.
I think they kind of got an idea of who they're going to get because one of our show hosts asked them that. But obviously, he's not going to tell us who. But it was pretty cool to have him on today. He was a pretty nice guy, kind of awkward, but pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the Bears to draft a running back. But
running back,
Ashton Genty.
No, dude, I want to trade up to get either Michael Williams, the edge from Georgia, or I want the guy from Penn State, the tight end. What's his name?
Warren.
He's nice.
With that, it's going to be in Green Bay. This is some final looks of it as well. We'll be showing this throughout the week. This is what Title Town looks like, turned into Draft Town now. You got all the, you got the stage to the left, and you got all the ambiance and all the tents up. This is the stage right here. That's what the stage would look like when Roger Goodell comes out. And then, that's the seating area, and that's where everybody will be watching the draft. So with that, we're going to jump into our next topic. It's going to be the NCAA conference alignment. The NCAA has taken a massive swing this season at eliminating the Pac-12. I mean, there are a few teams that are so-called Pac-12, but it's pretty much eliminated. Headlines, schools like Texas and Oklahoma moved to the SEC. USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington moved to the Big Ten. Colorado, Arizona State to the Big 12, and then Stanford had moved to the ACC. What does this mean for college in the future?
That we're going to see like 3 mega conferences in the next 10 years. And that's, at this point, do we just consider college sports, especially at the high D1 level? So like what we consider the FBS teams, right? And in college basketball, it would be your Power Four plus the Big East. Like those are the teams I'm talking about here. At some point, do we just need to say screw college like association, we're now just our own league.
Mm.
Like at some point they have to, because now
There's money behind it.
college sports has turned away, especially at the highest level, which for better for worse, it has turned this way. It has turned away from being you are a student athlete to you are an athlete and we are preparing you for an athletic career. You are no
Yeah,
longer
athlete
preparing to
student.
actually get any, like you're not really taking classes anymore. You're just
exactly. Too much
there
money
for the
behind it.
sports.
It's too
So
much
at
Did
money.
you?
some point with the NIL, at some point they're just signing contracts. This is just free agent. The transfer portal is just free agency every year. At some point, this should just be considered a feeder league for professional sports.
Did you see the Florida guys talking after the national championship game? One of the media guys that was there was asking every single player what class they had next and if they were going, and half of them were like, "Oh, I'm online. I don't have to worry about getting up early or nothing." And they're like, "I'm just gonna go party." And I mean, good for you. You won the national championship. You go do your thing, man. But I think it's just funny that there's just these methods to kind of still have them in school, but really what classes are they doing? Are these like Zion Williamson classes, or are these something
Yeah,
that they're getting value
are
out of?
you taking like calculus, or are you an introduction to rocks? Like which class are you in, dude?
Hey, rocks are tough,
That's
dude.
rocks,
Rocks are
they're
hard.
hard.
They're really
Rocks are
hard.
hard. Come on.
Gotta go.
But it at some point, I think we are going to see just mega conferences. I mean, the Pac-12 is trying to realign itself now, and they've gotten some schools now: Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, SDSU, Utah State, and Gonzaga as a non-football member will be Pac-12 schools starting in 2026. So
That's a good conference.
that's not a bad conference whatsoever. It's only 7 football members though. Like you're the Pac-7 basically. The Mountain West to replace all those guys. I mean, they're adding Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, San Jose, UNLV, UTEP, Wyoming, UC Davis, Grand Canyon, and NIU just for football.
NIU,
Right. So
like
that
the Huskies.
yes, the
So
Huskies are
NIU,
in the Mountain West
so
They got that
NIU,
starting
because
next
a
year.
school in DeKalb, Illinois, in the same state as Chicago in the Midwest, is going to be playing in schools in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
is it
Yep.
is NIU
Just
on
an
the
hour
west
and a
side
half
of
away
Illinois?
from Northwestern.
How
Is it?
about Hawaii being from a whole freaking
That
island
makes
by
sense.
itself,
That
going to be
makes
playing
sense.
with
It's
mountains?
Mountain West.
Yeah, the Hawaii one makes sense, but yeah, that's that road game. Like, who's traveling to who in Hawaii versus Northern Illinois come
Hawaii to
2027?
Illinois is
Who
disgusting.
is traveling? Like, yeah, you went to school, you chose to go to school in Hawaii, and now you're gonna have to go play in the Midwest on a Thursday night, like
30
30 minutes
degrees
from the
outside.
state line. It's
Hey,
dude, it's gonna be
hey,
35 degrees in the
they'll
middle of
have a free week of
November.
school though. They leave on a Monday, probably.
You paid to be in the palm trees, and now you're gonna have to play in the snow.
Hey,
That's not the
they,
Mountain
they
West.
get a free week off of school. They probably leave on Monday if they got to play on a Thursday.
That's true. That's true. They do get that just to adjust to the time and adjust to the conditions. But like, damn,
How about
Northern
schools
Illinois
that's
in the
like?
Mountain West.
How about like the softball and the baseball aspect and
Oof.
the track and field and basketball aspect where you have
Oof.
multiple games in a week?
I feel like track. They probably have them go there to Hawaii because that's the best probably
Like
location to go to. But
But it's
people are not
also
like
ridiculously expensive for
I know.
every school. Like for Northern Illinois to have to
Go to
travel
Hawaii.
to Hawaii for a track meet.
It'd be fun
NIU,
though.
I mean, thankfully
Hey, they
they're
would.
just joining as thankfully they're just joining the Mountain West as a football team. They're not the
Yeah,
rest of their sports.
that would suck.
They have to find a conference still, but I'm pretty sure there's rumblings that a deal was clinched with the Horizon League.
that
Of all leagues, they're joining the Horizon
That
League.
makes sense. That makes sense.
That's
But
not
they
bad.
left the MAC. The MAC was like a group of 5 conference.
It would not last.
Yeah.
Why are you leaving the MAC?
I don't
And it
think-
makes sense for some of the other sports because they are the basement of the MAC, for better or for worse. So it makes a little bit of sense to join the Horizon, but like the Horizon League is low.
Me,
You are joining
but-
a very low level conference.
what pisses me off the most about it is when you have Washington and they got to go travel and play Maryland on a
Or
Tuesday
Rutgers.
or Rutgers and come back to play Michigan and then go back and play Rutgers and then come back home. That's who like
It's
You're
professional
from
sports.
this part of the country and you're traveling over here.
College athletes were never, the NCAA was never intended to have college athletes make that trek in the middle of the regular season. That's a postseason travel.
Yeah.
It's turned into professional sports. That's a professional sports travel week.
Yep.
Not for a college student. College students are supposed to be in class during the week. You still practice, you still get ready for game day or multiple game days in the week, but you don't travel like that. You don't go from Seattle to Piscataway, New Jersey and call it normal. You don't call that normal for a college student.
Go to Michigan and then come back to
No
play
good.
Maryland on that Saturday, and then
No
to come
good.
back home to go to class on Monday.
And then you got to go to
Stupid.
Ohio, and then you have to go to Columbus, Ohio on Wednesday. That's what I'm getting at. It makes zero sense that you're still having these athletes, these high-level athletes, after conference realignment like this, go to class or still be in classes when they're so hell-bent and focused and getting paid to be there to play football or to play basketball. They're getting paid to be there. They're not just wiping the tuition like a scholarship would do. They're getting paid, right?
Imagine.
And this is something that we can all agree on. College athletes, for as much money as the nonprofit NCAA brings in every year, college athletes deserved a piece of the pie, right? Like, we can all get behind that, I think.
Yep. Yeah.
We can all get behind they should have gotten paid.
I would say
Yes,
I mean,
they
it's,
should get paid.
they should get paid maybe, but they shouldn't be getting paid like almost tens of millions of dollars for one
They-
season to play basketball in Utah.
That's ridiculous.
And,
No,
and
it's
the next year
different
they're
than
going to say, you know
basketball,
what?
though. It's different than football. Football is way more expensive. Like, you can get way more money in football than
Exactly.
basketball.
Like there were talks about Marvin Harrison Jr. getting paid more at Ohio State for one more year than he got in his rookie deal, the whole rookie deal with Arizona.
The bigger your name is in college, the bigger your name is, and the better you play in college, your name can last for 4 years straight.
That's
And
where
Tens of millions of dollars
that's
to
how
play
you
college
see.
football.
That's how you see. What's her name? Flau'jae Johnson staying. That's how you
The
see
rapper?
she's staying. She's not going to the W.
yeah, the rapper.
Flau'jae
was
Johnson
signed by
from
one.
LSU is staying put in college.
Well, you in women's college you have to stay, but in men's college, like, you don't have to stay. You literally stay and make 10 million 1 year, and then go to the NBA and make this crazy contract because you're a first round pick.
Well, the perfect one you can say with that is Tahai Pedersen.
Yeah,
Tahai Pettiford. He entered the draft but maintains his college eligibility. He doesn't get taken
John
away
Blackwell
once.
did the same
He's
thing.
going right back to college.
that's ridiculous.
John Blackwell did the exact same thing, and he already made it clear that he's going to be a Badger regardless. Which thank the Lord above that John Blackwell is still going to be a Badger next year because he's not getting drafted. But
Not even
that's
close.
besides the point. Declaring for the draft, if you're taking that risk, let's switch to that. If you declare for a draft, you're taking that risk. You accept the risk knowing that you might not get drafted. So why not stay at college an extra year? Why not? It
And
makes
make
no
that money.
sense that the rules are changing now. If you know you can get paid in Madison and get an NIL deal with Zimbrix Auto, Zimbrix Hyundai dealership, and still get paid like $6 million on top of that to be playing basketball in the Kohl Center for the next year plus, why would you even declare? If you declare, you should have to forego all of that. That's my take on this, is if you're going to declare for a draft, you should have to forego the rest of your eligibility. If you're declaring to go professional, you are no longer playing in college. You forego the rest of your eligibility. It sounds silly, but this is how it works in college bowling, is if you declare to go pro and you join the pro tour, you forgo your eligibility unless you get a commissioner's exemption, which those are handed out very few and far between to just the highest level college athletes in bowling. Unless you get a commissioner's exemption, you declare to go pro and you forgo all eligibility. Now, you can enter tournaments as an amateur. You can only do that a certain amount of times, but once you're on the pro tour, you just lose eligibility. Once you declare that you are a pro in bowling, you do not bowl in college ever again. You cannot. Same should go for all these other sports. If you declare to go pro, you're no longer a college athlete. You can be a college student, but you just said you are too good for the college circuit and you're good enough to play professionally. Now go play professionally.
That'll be interesting. That's another topic we can come back to when we think about one. Should you be what's better, being a college athlete or being a pro athlete now? So that we just created another topic for another
Depends
day.
on the sport.
Here we go.
So we're gonna jump now into our last topic. Does defense still win championships? I know
Yes.
Sam brought that up in Tuesday's
Yes.
live, so I know he
Yes.
wanted to get back to this. So
What are we
on
talking? Can I
Tuesday,
start? Can I
oh,
start?
hold on,
Sam.
on Tuesday, our co-host Sam brought up a good point. Do defense
Yes.
still win championships?
Sam. The championship.
First
game.
off, who won between Houston and Florida?
Who won? Who won between? What do you mean? Yes, Florida.
Who won? Did Florida beat Houston?
Florida beat them with defense,
All
right?
No.
Oh my! What are you talking about?
Houston,
Jalen, do you have
Houston
the
was
clip?
not that good of a
Jalen, do
scoring
you have
team
the
this
clip?
year.
Jalen, do you have the clip, bro? Do you have the clip of the last play of the game where they
The last
literally
play-
disrupted the last
Okay.
2 minutes of the game where they clamped
And
them
the other top
scored every
25
time?
teams in the country can also make that same adjustment to play that tightly on defense.
Did they?
It's
Which
not
team?
impressive
Oh, you
enough in
talking
that.
about the Houston clip?
Yes, the Houston
The-
clip of
Let me
him
see if I can find it.
choking at the end of the game because guess what? They were guarding the perimeter. They had a defensive game plan. For
Yeah,
the
that's
game.
called an adjustment.
That won the
That's just
game.
an
It's a defensive
adjustment. Yes,
What
but
kind of
it's not the
adjustment?
sole determining
What kind of
factor
adjustment? What
for
kind of adjustment?
winning. They made it a defensive adjustment. Yes,
Sam, how did they
but it's
come
not
back?
the sole determining factor for winning. It's
Sam,
not the sole factor for what makes
how
a
did they come
championship
back?
team. Defense is definitely a key cog
It is the
in what
biggest-
makes championship
is
teams
the
championship
biggest
teams. It is not the sole determinant.
It's not
You
offense.
still have the goal of basketball is to score more points than the other team.
and guard the team for not letting them score more than you.
Yes. You
That's
still
the most
have to
important.
score. You still have to score.
Bro, defense will win
You
every
have to
time. You can't
score.
outscore the other team every time. Obviously,
More teams can get lucky on offense than they can get on defense.
That's fair.
More teams can get hot on offense than they can on
to
defense.
score. You still need to actually know what the hell you're doing with the basketball to score.
Sam, they won the game
you-
off
dude.
a defensive adjustment and came back because they made adjustments to defense.
But they
The
were
entire
not the
game.
better defensive team. They
They
were not the
were
better
at the end of
defensive
the day.
team.
Yes, they were.
They were not the
Absolutely,
better
on the
defensive team
perimeter, yes,
all
they were.
season.
Absolutely.
They were not the better team defensively
In the
all
playoffs,
season.
yes, they
It was
were.
Houston. It
Florida
was
in the
Houston.
playoffs,
Then
they
where's
were
St. John's? St. John's was the best defensive team in college basketball this year. Where
But
were
they couldn't
they?
score a lick.
They
They
couldn't beat Arkansas.
You know why they couldn't?
They
Because
couldn't beat
defense.
Arkansas.
Because of
Because they couldn't
Arkansas's defense.
score. Because they don't score.
Because of the defense.
They don't score.
Prove my
St.
point.
John's does not score. They
Sam,
do not
you
score the
prove my point.
basketball. They
Sam,
won the
you prove my
big. They
point.
won the Big East because they barely scored more than the other teams.
Sam, you're literally proving my point. They didn't score. You know why? Because Arkansas had a better defense.
No,
I understand.
because they're
throughout
just
the
bad on
years-
offense.
I will
They're
give
just
Sam
bad
that
on offense.
they were not very good on offense.
St.
They were
John's played all-
barely
who
the
did they
top.
play
They
all
were
year,
barely in the
bro?
top 70
Who did
in
they
offensive
play all year,
efficiency this
man?
year. Barely.
They didn't.
And the
play.
Big East was not that strong this year either. The Big East was not that strong.
They didn't play
UConn
anybody.
fell off. Marquette forgot how to play basketball down the stretch. Villanova is terrible. Seton Hall is terrible. Providence is terrible. Creighton was their best competition. Even Creighton wasn't that good all year long.
All right,
Yeah.
let me direct this question.
St. John's
Sam.
won a weak conference
Go ahead, Drew.
with great defense. And as soon as they played a slightly better opponent than they had played all season, they collapsed and could not score the basketball.
All right,
they
so,
were getting
so
clapped.
Sam, when I think of offense in the NCAA, I think of Alabama right now. So tell me a team that averaged more than 90 points a game this season, how they didn't win the championship then.
Well, individual games. There's context here. There's
No,
context
there's not.
here. Yes,
There's
there
no
is.
context.
There is. Look at BYU is the same way.
No,
BYU is the same way.
No, they're not.
Think about the context. BYU could have been in the Elite Eight. BYU versus Alabama. And think about that. One of those two teams should have made the Final Four, realistically speaking. I did not have that much faith in Duke going through the tournament. Did I have them winning a bunch of my brackets? Sure.
Okay,
But
They don't have any defensive IQ and they
Okay,
don't have
Sam.
any defensive plan.
Sam,
They
Alabama
lose.
put up 113 on BYU, and then they turned around and only scored 65 on Duke.
And ready for the clip from Houston and Florida?
Okay.
let's play the clip.
Ladies and
Let's play the
gentlemen,
clip.
please
Let's
watch
see it.
this clip. I'll run you through this. I'm going to unmute myself. I will run
Play
you
that
through
play.
it. Okay.
Last takes though while it processes.
All right. Listen, we're going to see some great perimeter defense. We're going to see them half court trap everywhere on the perimeter, disrupt the entire play. And this isn't just this play. They did it the entire last 5 minutes of the game while they're making a comeback because they were down. And yes, you were right. Houston was playing amazing defense, but it came down to the last 5 minutes. You have to play the best defense of your life. That is why defense matters more, because you have to end the game with defense, not offense. You have to make sure the other team does not come back and play harder than you. Your defense matters the most.
Let's see.
And that foul line has been a dilemma. They made the two big ones the other night. National championship is in the balance.
Come down the court.
13 seconds left.
Right here. One-on-one. ISO, he wants to ISO. He calls the screen. Gets trapped right away. Gets trapped right away. Zone, trapped right away. 1K, okay. Takes the stupid three because the whole play is just deceptive and then they win the game. That is defense.
It's a great defensive play.
That is the entire second half.
Were they doing that all season? What got them to that game?
Defense. Their defense in the final moment of the game, Sam.
No.
Sam, they were in a close game.
They ran in the final four. They ran into an Auburn team that was cold. They were on a cold stretch. They had not hit their team total over under in 7 of their last 8 going into that game, and they once again did not hit their team over under. Their offense was stagnating.
And they won the game.
Florida didn't have to play too much defense against them because Janai Broome is slow and unathletic. Against Auburn, no, they still put up 77 points?
And still played,
which is what their average all season.
And still
they were an offense-heavy team that won the championship. Let's switch sports here too. Let's even switch sports here. Go to football. Go to the Super Bowl this year. The Eagles put up damn near 50 on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Destroyed the Chiefs.
Sure. But 48 points on offense. You're not going to lose many games scoring 48 points.
Dude, they made Mahomes look like Nathan Peterman out there.
Go to baseball. The Brewers have been arguably the best defensive team in baseball the last 5 years. They haven't done anything in the playoffs.
Let me bring up a graphic real quick.
Go ahead.
Who's the first teams in both conferences?
All right. The Thunder, best defensive team in the league.
He's picking around 17. He wants to
the
make sure we
second
see
best. The Celtics.
But why?
The Celtics are the second best, and the Cavs are the third best. And then the Rockets, I don't think they're even top 5 in defense. But I know that the Cavs, the Thunder, and the Celtics are top 3. Okay, like what are we talking about right now? Okay, I'm pretty sure the Clippers are up there too. The Nuggets have the defense. I don't know the Nuggets. That proves your point. Their offense
at the same time, yeah, sure, they might be the best defensive team. Really, the best defensive teams by defensive rating are the Thunder, Magic, and Clippers. Right. But those top 3 teams that we just said, we can all agree, the top 3 teams in the playoffs right now, in no specific order, OKC, Boston, Cleveland, what do they have in common? They are the top 3 offenses in the NBA.
Correct. And
they're the top 3 most efficient teams at scoring the basketball in the NBA.
Listen, the Celtics are the only team in the past 5 years to win the championship off of pure offense, and that's a fact. Last year, the Nuggets won off of pure defense because the Heat could not score. Okay, year before that, who was it? Warriors versus Celtics. They had to play outstanding defense to stop the Celtics. They couldn't outscore them because that's not gonna happen. Okay, so they didn't have Drew Holiday or Porzingis yet, so they had to really dive down. But to Jason Tatum,
but the Warriors also had Stephen Curry, who's the greatest offensive weapon in basketball history.
Who else did they have though to play a great offense? Andrew Wiggins, yes, but that's literally it. Jordan Poole didn't show up. They had to play great defense. So Andrew Wiggins on Jason Tatum was guarding him the entire series and made him look like a fool. Made Luka look like a fool before that in the Western Conference Finals. The year before that, the Bucks, they won the championship. They were down 2-0. And guess what? Did we win a game when it was like 98-93 or something like that? If I'm not mistaken, unless I'm crazy. We might have won by like 98 to like 96, something close like that.
There was
a game. Okay.
There was not a game in the finals where both teams scored under 100. The last game 6, the Suns scored 98. That was the lowest total score.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what I was thinking about.
105-98, yeah.
And we our defense, right? Our defense won us that series. And then the year before that, the Lakers against the Heat. Okay, the Lakers had a better team overall, but they had Anthony Davis, a top 3 defensive candidate, and LeBron James, who was coming off his prime in 2018. Okay? These teams, the Celtics are the only team in the last like 10 years to win off of pure offense. That's a fact.
Go back to 2021. Go back to 2021. Who were the best defensive teams in 2021?
70%
I
of
want you
these
to guess the
teams
top five.
have. Oh,
Go ahead.
I want you to guess the
let go of
5
it
best
first.
defensive teams in terms of efficiency in the NBA in the year of the Bucks Suns finals.
Go ahead.
In no specific order, the Jazz, the Knicks, the Warriors, Lakers, and Sixers. None of those teams won the championship. The next closest in the 6 through 10, the Bucks and Suns are in the 6 through 10. Offensively speaking, the Bucks were the 5th best offense in basketball. The Suns were 6th. They were tied for 6th in terms of offensive efficiency. They were better offensive teams than they were defensive teams in that finals.
But my point is, when you get to the tournament or when you get to the playoffs, your defense matters. That's the whole question. Does defense?
Oh, your defense matters all the time. Your defense matters all the time. But it's not the sole determining factor of how championship.
We just went over the past 5 years on what championship does the defense still win championships? And yes, it does. Besides last year, I will give you that. Last year the Celtics won. UConn won last year. Wasn't it UConn who won last year?
UConn won the last 2 years in a row, yeah.
Yep.
You're off of pure offense. I don't think their defense was that great last year. But
I think they did a pretty good job on Purdue Edie. I think they did a pretty good job.
Well, they had bigs last year to match him. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Caravan, yeah. Donovan Clingan.
Yeah.
But
defense. Size matching up. It works.
Hey, Drew, go ahead, bro. You were a little laggy before. Here's Drew.
I was just looking back at just like a bunch of offensive and defensive efficiency ratings for champions, and kind of just looking back before 2020. 2 years in a row that the Warriors won it.
There he is.
We're in offense, 10th in defense. Sorry, did you lose me again?
Yeah, it's still there. Still.
I can't figure this out, man. This Wi-Fi's still playing with me. You guys just keep going. I'll just sit here and shut up.
No, go ahead. You good?
No.
It sounds better now.
The fans want to hear you.
It sounds better now. So.
Okay. I'm just talking about overall, just based on these numbers that I'm looking at in front of me in terms of offensive and defensive efficiency. The offense that we see here is overwhelmingly every team has at least one of the other top 5 offense or defense. Some teams have both. There are more teams that have higher offensive efficiencies and defensive efficiencies that have won the championship.
And is that across all professional sports in the NBA? Okay.
Yeah, Sam.
So in the NBA, you still have to score.
You play 82 games. You can score. You can score the lights up for 82 games. When it comes down to 16 games, you got to win in the last portion of the year. Your defense matters more than your offense, because you can't score the lights out every game.
It can, but what got you there? What's
going to win you
to that point? What got you to that last 16 games?
What's going to win you the championship?
What wins games? Scoring more points than the other team.
What's going to win the Bucks the championship this year? Is it going to be their offense or defense?
It's going to be. It has to be. They're going to have to blow the lights out of every single team they face.
If we want to get past the first round, we're going to have to guard everyone on the Pacers very well.
Hate to be the bad advocate here.
We're not going to be able to outscore the Cavaliers. I'll tell you that now. We're not.
That'll do that. We'll come back to this for sure, because it seems like this is going to be a hot topic all for the rest of all the playoffs. So we'll definitely keep this topic in mind for sure. So let me get y'all final thoughts real quick.
Man, listen, the brisket burger from Buc-ee's, it can hold its own. Hold its own. If you have the picture, it can hold its own with the rest of the southern hemisphere of the U.S. Okay,
we were talking about this earlier.
Those brisket sandwiches are absolutely unstoppable.
If you could highlight this. That pulled pork right there in front of you, though, in the foreground. Right.
I got 2 of them. I got the pulled pork and I got the brisket sandwich. I had them both on the way back from Florida. Oh, my God. Dude, listen, they can hold their own, bro. They can. They really can hold their own.
They can. And again, we had this conversation earlier. For those who are unaware, we're going to talk a little bit about this today. I'm glad we brought it up here in the final thoughts. Buc-ee's brisket is amazing. However, in comparison to you're going to this little mom pot shop in Texas or Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, you're going to some local joint where they're making that brisket, and they've been making the brisket the same way for the last 4 generations. that brisket blows Buc-ee's out of the water.
Stop it.
I will
Blows out
stand
the
on
water
that.
is
And
insane.
that's not me saying that Buc-ee's
That's your
brisket is bad.
vocabulary.
That's not me saying it's bad. I think
Watch
it's
your
great. I mean, look,
vocabulary.
do I gotta stand up? Do I gotta stand up and
Stand
show
up.
you?
Watch
Look
your
at me, man.
vocabulary.
Look at me. I've had a lot of
Oh,
Buc-ee's
boy.
brisket in my life. I know about Buc-ee's. I know a thing or two about brisket.
Wow.
I know a thing or two.
He brought
Just
Buc-ee's
hear
to Oak
me
Creek
out.
all by himself, bro.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
All right. You might have got it.
Texas cheesesteak burrito. I am there.
Listen,
I am
man.
there.
Oak Creek is going to make Oak Creek, Wisconsin. For you who don't live in Wisconsin, Oak Creek might get a Buc-ee's. That's how this conversation came up. I was showing them how the layout would look, and Buc-ee's has like over this Buc-ee's would have over 100 gas pumps. I think 120 is the exact number. And when I tell you, if you've never been to a Buc-ee's, it is literally like a Walmart, but like packed. It's ridiculous. It's a Walmart. You can eat. It's like a Costco or Sam's Club, because like it's a little bit bigger, and the bathrooms are huge. I'll just never forget it. It's unbelievable. But I think that brisket burgers from Buc-ee's can hold their own with any sandwich in the U.S. because it's unreal. So, and Buc-ee's is Southern.
Well, with that, that's going to end the show today for us. Subscribe, like, share, and comment. Follow our podcast page on the platforms. There's going to be the link in the description. Our Spotify, if you want to listen to the audio version, or if anyone is listening to the audio version, come on over to YouTube and subscribe and watch us do it video-wise. We post reels. Definitely going to post some shorts of this show. We want to show y'all about the defense winning still winning championships or not. So that would be something to really look forward to. And with that, this is Shot of Sports, and we'll see you next week on Tuesday.